Hello, and welcome back to the Vibrant Soulful Wellness Podcast. This is your podcast for ideas, practices, and strategies for living and working more vibrantly and soulfully. And I'm your host, Annie Barrett. My work is guiding individuals, groups, and workplaces toward higher well being and greater fulfillment using the tools of coaching, lifestyle medicine, habit change science, mindfulness, and yoga. And I'm really glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about fall as a time to return to routines and rituals. And I'm recording this in the middle of September 2025. September is a transition month, right? We find ourselves moving from summer into the fall season. We have warm days and crisper nights. And September, for many of us, is a return to routines and rituals. Just like this podcast, actually. It's been a few months since I have recorded a podcast, and I am returning to this ritual of creating a podcast. So, for many of us, September is that time that we get back to these. And what do I mean when I'm talking about routines and rituals? What's the difference between routine and ritual? I really like the words of Maria Popova. She is a blogger, and she says a few things I think are really useful. One of them is that routines and rituals are both under this overarching category of habits, right? She even says that they're like two sides of the same coin. That routine, something that we do again and again and again, aims to make the chaos of everyday life a little bit more containable and controllable. It makes things a little bit more smooth and easy, right? And ritual aims to imbue, as she says, imbue the mundane with an element of the magical. Maria Popova writes that the structure of routine comforts us, and the specialness of ritual vitalizes us, and a full life calls for both. And that both of these routines and rituals, they anchor us to ourselves, right? Um, and so let's get into this a little bit. Coming into the fall season, this is a good time to relook at our routines and rituals, maybe refresh them a little bit, return to them. And we may find that actually this fall season pulls us naturally into certain routines and rituals. So we might notice that this time of the year, the light is changing rapidly. At the time of this recording, I'm about 10 days away from the fall equinox, in which the day and night will be equal for about a moment, and then we'll move into longer nights and shorter days. Right now, the days are quite warm, but they're getting crispier in the evenings and in the early mornings. The leaves are getting crispier. Things that we have in the garden, like squashes and pumpkins, are ripening. Things like apples and pears are falling from the trees. If we're watching the animals around us, the behavior of the birds and the squirrels, for example, reflects that it is fall. And we can just ask ourselves, what is changing in us? What's changing in you? How do you find yourself shifting in the fall? You might find your waking and going to bedtime shifting a little bit. You might find the foods that you're craving to eat and the things that you are wanting to do with your time are changing a little bit. And we just notice that there are natural routines and rituals that we come back to in the fall. If we're young, or remember when we're young, we went back to school. If we have kids, we are getting them back to school. And there's that ritual of preparing for school, the magicalness of getting your new backpack and your school supplies, and then the routine of the school mornings of getting there on time and getting back from vacation, right? Back into the workflow if we've taken some time off. There's also a return to routines that we may have for exercise or rituals that we may have that we do in the morning, meditation or mindfulness practices. There's back to meal planning, which means if we've been eating a little bit haphazardly over the summer, eating late or not really planning out our meals, eating on a whim, we realize, all right, life is getting a little bit busier. Things get busier in the fall, and now I need to meal plan and shop on the weekends and think about what I'm going to eat the time ahead. If you have a garden, then you're definitely noticing rituals that you do this time of the year with the apple harvest. Pretty soon, the leaves will be falling and we'll be raking the leaves, putting our garden beds to bed for the winter, etc. So all of these things are naturally happening, and so we're part of this. There's a word in the Sanskrit language that talks about this. The word is ritu charya. Ritu is the word that means season, and charya are the rituals or the routines that you do. So seasonal practices, seasonal routines and rituals. And this time of the year also can shape up what we do daily. So we have daily things that we do. And there's a word for that also in Sanskrit, dinacharya, daily routines and rituals. And we might notice that the things that we do in the morning and the evening get changed up a little bit this time of the year. Maybe we have to wake up a little bit earlier. We might notice we're going to bed a little bit later. Making time to exercise in the morning as the days get a little bit shorter might mean that we have to be up and at 'em, or we change what we're doing and when we're doing it. And same thing in the evening. We may notice that we actually get a little bit sleepier sooner as the days get a little bit shorter. And what's really wonderful about routines and rituals is that they are very steadying. Routines and rituals help us stay steady, help us feel supported and stable when life is challenging. And we are continuing to live in a time when there are many things that are happening on the level of our country or the world that are in upheaval, that are changing day by day, that may leave us bewildered and a little bit breathless. We may also be experiencing personal or family challenges or shifts and transitions, and maybe happening on the level of personally of our family, our community, responsibilities that we have with parenting or caregiving. And all of these things can be tough, right? Because life is challenging. And so routines and rituals can really help us stay steady in the midst of transitions, in the midst of this time as we move from summer to fall, move into the responsibilities that we have this time of the year, or just dealing with what life is on this planet right now. And so I invite you to take a moment and just consider if there are routines and rituals that you need to stay steady this month. And by routine, remember, we're talking about what are the things that you do over and over again that help your life be more containable and controllable. Something that kind of smooths the bumps. Perhaps something that you do in the morning. Maybe it's getting up early and sitting and having your cup of coffee or tea and taking a little time to watch the day awaken. Look at the birds and the bird feeder, for example. It might be an exercise routine that you do in the morning or a ritual like meditation that imbues, brings something magical, something special into your day that gives you some reflection time. So, routines are the things that make life more containable and controllable. Ritual is when we take a moment and we imbue what's happening daily, the mundane nature of life with something special, something vital. And then again, that could be anything that that is for you, something special that you do, like lighting a candle as the days get a little bit shorter, or a special way in which you sit down and have your cup of coffee in the morning. Or it might be a practice that you do weekly or daily, like meditation. Routines and rituals, they are, as I said before, two sides of the same coin. We might think of them as two deities of habit. And you can really call on routine and ritual to help you feel steady when life feels a little bit shaky. And moving into the fall is a good time to call on these routines and rituals. So that's my message for you today. Return to routines and rituals that help you feel steady and stable in the fall and when life feels challenging. I look forward to hearing what routines and rituals are helpful for you. And I thank you for listening to the Vibrant Soulful Wellness podcast today. If you like this episode and you want to hear more episodes, you can subscribe on Spotify. You can also head over to my website, www.vibrantsoulful.com, where you can join my weekly newsletter. You can also listen to this episode and see a lot of other wellness resources. I appreciate you being here. and I look forward to you tuning in again soon. Thank you.